Hello, my name is George, and I'm on the leadership team of All Nations Christian Centre, and this is my thought for the week. I want to ask you a question. How are your feet? Now, don't worry, I haven't suddenly taken an interest in chiropody. What I'm talking about is the spiritual health of our feet. In Proverbs 4 and verse 26 and 27, we're told to give careful thought to where our feet take us, to ensure we don't lead ourselves into situations which may cause us harm or cause us to fall into sin. And in Psalm 119 and verse 105, we're told that God's word is a lamp to our feet, which speaks to us of ensuring that every day we're reading God's word, understanding God's word, meditating on God's word to ensure that our journey through life is good and beneficial for us. And God has a purpose for our feet. In Romans 10 and verse 15, Paul quotes the prophet Isaiah by saying, "How beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news." Do you think your feet are beautiful? Well, if you're taking the gospel of Christ to people, the Bible tells us that we have beautiful feet. And in the source text in Isaiah, we read about the fact that people bringing the good news are walking over mountains. So obviously, there's quite often some rough terrain that we have to go through. So we need to be prepared. And in the same way as we wouldn't go physical mountain climbing in our flip-flops, we need to be properly booted up for that. We need to prepare for the task of spreading the gospel of Christ, which is why Paul tells us to put on the full armour of God and making sure our feet are ready for the job at hand. And of course, sometimes we might face some difficult opposition to the message that we're bringing, maybe some aggression. And Jesus tells us in Matthew 10 not to worry about that, but to simply shake the dust from our feet and move on, and don't destroy our peace, and let God decide what happens next. And then we have the lovely image in John 13 of Jesus washing the disciples' feet from the dust and grime and bruises of the day. He's there washing and tending to their feet. And Jesus tells us to do exactly the same, to wash each other's feet as he has washed the disciples' feet, which speaks to us of providing the solace and the care that some of our brothers and sisters need when they are weary from the journey, when their feet are weary from the road that they have been walking along. And then finally, we have that lovely image in Exodus chapter 3, where Moses comes before the burning bush and God tells him he's on holy ground and to take off his sandals. God sometimes wants us to be fully vulnerable before him. And when we take off our shoes and socks and stand in our bare feet, we do feel vulnerable. But in the same sense, spiritually, God knows us better than we know ourselves. He is the one before whom we can be fully open and fully vulnerable. So in a spiritual way, let's take off our shoes and socks and stand in his holy presence. So let's ensure that we ensure the spiritual health of our feet, that they're fully guided and fully open to God. Have a great week.